CouchPotatoGM.com, CPGM Headley, CPGM Drew, CPGM Juice. We are back. We're going to break down the Baltimore Ravens draft class. What do you guys think of the Baltimore Ravens class, man? I know wide receiver was one of the biggest needs that they had.
Staring them in the face.
And they did Ozzie, like you said.
Yeah.
Trade back, cousin trade back?
Cousin
trade back.
He showed up.
They passed on DJ Moore. They traded back once again, and they had Calvin Ridley right there at pick 25, and they selected Hayden Hurst. What do you think about that Hayden Hurst pick?
So ultimately they passed up DJ Moore twice and Calvin Ridley 3 times. That's ultimately how those trades worked out. As for Hayden Hurst, I mean, you guys did more work on the tight ends than I did. I get where Ozzie was coming from. They've had some issues, whether it be injury or age, free agency, whatever the case may be at tight end. But it's one of those positions that takes young players or guys transitioning from the collegiate level to the pro level time to really get acclimated and make a difference. And I'm thinking to myself, you have an older team, unless you're doing more of a reset. You know what I mean? And especially in lieu of a receiver, I wasn't thrilled with the pick. I think he's a good player. I just wasn't a fan of the selection.
Well, let's talk about the Ravens, the philosophy. In the offseason, they got Michael Crabtree, they John Brown, and Willie Snead. So they picked up 3 receivers. I know Ozzie Newsome did this before when he drafted Pitta and Dixon in the same year. So again, this year he drafted Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews, 2 tight ends again. So maybe that helps Joe Flacco. Maybe they think they're okay at wide receiver. I know later in the draft they drafted a receiver that I like, Jordan Lasley. I call him Baby Ty. He just gets deep. He gets open. He knows how to win. And they drafted who's the other receiver? Jaleel Scott, the big receiver. So maybe that's their thought process. Maybe they didn't like DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley. Let's get the tight ends now. We'll get our receivers later. We added some good receivers in free agency.
Well, I think the thought process is when Flacco was successful, didn't he have two tight ends?
No, he had Ray Rice. Yeah, Anquan Bolden and Ray Rice. That's what he had.
He did, and he had a defense.
Oh, he had a hell of a defense. Well, the defense had Joe Flacco.
Out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like with Hayden Hurst, like I didn't see him going in the first round, so I don't understand why you would go that high to get him. Unless they had some intel, but I don't think that's the case. Like you said, you had the 2 receivers sitting on the board, and you passed them both up for, how old is he?
24?
25?
I don't know.
25-year-old tight end.
25
when the season starts. Yeah,
pretty old.
And also, didn't they draft Max Williams a couple years ago? He was supposed to be the next.
He's just on the bubble.
Yeah,
he's on the bubble.
They missed on him.
But that's a perfect example of that the difficulty guys have making an impact at that position.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not suggesting Hurst doesn't obviously develop into a legitimate professional tight end. I'm not suggesting that.
I think he will.
Right, to your point, you think you will, but all things considered, Crabtree is a possession guy, getting into the latter stages of his career. John Brown, as much as I like John Brown, he struggles to stay healthy. Willie Snead is a slot guy. He's a complementary piece. You know what I mean? Mind you, his best football came when he played with Drew Brees. That's the only quarterback he's ever played with. Now he's going to Joe Flacco. There's a big difference there. It's a huge.
And when you look at their receivers, when you look at their receivers, before you transition, when you look at their receivers, when you think about every NFL team, all 32, I'm a fan of the Bucs, but I also know I can name one receiver on every team. Can you, off the top of your head? I mean, you can now, but
of course.
You can name that number 1 guy, right? You know
someone outside of the Baltimore market probably doesn't know who the receivers are
for the Ravens,
and that's been an issue. It's been an issue. Heather, I know you like Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, he's my tight end 1.
He's your tight end 1, and you think he could be a real big benefit to Lamar Jackson, who the Ravens traded back up into the first round for at the bottom of the first round with the Eagles. What do you think about that?
The Lamar Jackson pick?
Yeah.
I think, it's reminiscent to the Vikings selecting Teddy Bridgewater, going back into the end of the first round, getting that 5th-year option. I call Lamar Jackson the forgotten quarterback because, all draft process, it was just the big 4. It was Mayfield, Rosen, Darnold, and Josh Allen, man.
Right.
People had Lamar Jackson falling down the board, whether it be things he did off the field with the whole agent or whatever the case is, or whether it's they don't think he could.
He didn't run.
He didn't run in the 40 or his pro day, so I don't know if he hurt himself, but at the same time, I think this is a great landing spot. for Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens.
Why? Why do you feel like it's a great landing spot?
The culture, man. They've had, a great culture over there. John Harbaugh, he's a good NFL coach. And I think there's no more Ozzie to put those pieces around. But I think what Ozzie did the last couple of years to get that defense, it was an older defense before.
Sure.
They got a little younger last season. So, I think Baltimore is a growing franchise right now.
And he's not going to have to play right away. I do see a potential where he's probably going to play this season, but not have to play day one, because Flacco's making a whole hell of a lot of money. If the Ravens don't have success, which I really don't see them having success to the point where you're going to continue to play Flacco, regardless of the money that he's making, to throw Lamar Jackson in there. I see it coming.
So do we think Lamar Jackson starts this season?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the time will come. I'm bullish on Lamar Jackson, and it is a little bit of a departure from my typical, win from the pocket, polish, 3, 5, 7-step drop kind of guy. The things that I like about Lamar Jackson the most is his progression from one year to the next. I mean, after his freshman year, we saw he was a great athlete. And we've seen a lot of freshman quarterback come onto the scene. Nobody's seen them before, except for, the areas where they played high school, and they play terrific. They're incredible. They're the next best thing. And then beyond that, they just plateau. That wasn't the case with Lamar Jackson. He just became better and better every season. You know what I mean?
Sounds like it's a coachable kid.
He not only is he coachable, but as a passer, he really started to develop. He started to make some stride. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have warts. All the quarterbacks that were selected in this class have warts. There's no perfect prospect by any stretch of the imagination. People will talk about, well, he's not going to do all that running. He's not. You won't hold up that way. But the talk about him as a passer, I think there's issues with accuracy, and we've talked about that ad nauseum over the years. And accuracy typically doesn't get better per se. Here's the thing, though. Here's the silver lining that I see. He protects the football. I think some of his accuracy issues are based on him not wanting to turn the football over. I also like the fact that he didn't play in one of those traditional spreads where there's a bunch of bubbles and RPOs, whatever the case may be. He had to make full field reads. You know what I mean? So he's not clearly he's not a finished product, and he's not a savant as a passer. There's no mistake. But I like the fact that he's coachable, and I like the fact that he continues to progress. I'll work with that. Given the way the league is skewing in terms of spreading it out and open and quick passes and getting the ball in the hands and not necessarily making full field reads, more half field, that type of thing, I think he can have a lot of success, and I expect him to play a lot this year.
Yeah, I think my breakdown on Lamar Jackson is I think he can win in this league. Like you said, the NFL is changing. The spread is out here, so you get a quarterback in a system that could work. We've seen Nick Foles just win the Super Bowl, and I think Lamar Jackson is a quarterback that could win in this league, man. I do have issues with his feet. His footwork when he throws the football.
Too narrow.
Base is too narrow.
Yep.
That makes him overthrow a lot of passes.
Yep.
I don't think he'll ever be this good or great quarterback in the league, but I do think he's the most athletic quarterback, and I do think he can win games in the league.
Yeah, to your point, mechanically, there's work to be done. But what I'm encouraged by is that he's not bailing from the pocket.
No.
There's mechanics that need to improve, but it's not one read and tuck it because he has that ability.
Oh, yeah.
You would be just fine with him one read and taking off. He's going to do damage that way, but he's trying to work through it. You could see him make a concerted effort, and like I said, from freshman year to junior year, huge change. That encourages me. That's why I think the roll of the dice, moving up into the bottom of the first, like you say, getting that 5th-year option, I think was well worth it because I'll be honest with you, and Raven fans may think this is sacrilegious. I think he's the best quarterback on your roster. I think they
don't feel that way.
I think some do. I think some do are still holding on to the Joe Flacco 2012 run, and it was the most incredible run I've ever seen a quarterback in the playoffs. I've never seen anything like it. But I have not seen that player since that run. Since that contract, I have not seen anything even remotely close to that. Flacco's had some injuries, the back. It's like you mentioned, at this point, I don't think Flacco makes anybody else better. I think Jackson has an opportunity to make guys better. If nothing else, because of his ability, his athletic ability, and that you have to respect that, I think that will open up passing lanes for him where he doesn't have to be quite as pinpoint. Will he ever be, you know what I mean, a savant and one of the elite passers? Probably not. But I think particularly if he continues to develop and he continues to protect the ball, he had some issues with supporting cast and drops and things of that nature. The same excuses people made for Josh Allen, it's actually legitimate with Lamar Jackson. You understand what I'm saying? And considering all the injuries they had during his junior year, the step back that team took, the fact that they were as competitive as they were was because of Lamar Jackson. So I'm encouraged by him.
I don't remember the podcast I was listening to. I can't remember, but they made the correlation between Deshaun Watson, his accuracy issues coming in, and Lamar Jackson, where Deshaun came in, he lit the world on fire. Do we even remember his accuracy issues at all? No, they out the door. So.
I thought they were always overblown with Deshaun Watson. I think Lamar's are more pronounced. I think his accuracy issues are more pronounced. Lamar, with the biggest difference, not just from an accuracy standpoint, but the anticipation in which they throw with. That's why I was so confident, or more. I thought Deshaun Watson was the best quarterback in last year's class over Trubisky and Mahomes. Is because he made pro throws. Yeah. Lamar Jackson was asked to make pro throws. He didn't make as many as Watson, but he was actually asked to make those throws.
Yeah, I think the thing with Deshaun Watson last year, my biggest thing on him was the decision making. He made a lot of bad decisions last year in Clemson, threw a lot of interceptions, trying to do too much. Yeah. But him as a thrower, I have Deshaun Watson over Lamar Jackson.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Like I said, I'm excited about his trajectory though. That encourages me. That makes me willing to pull the trigger on him at that point in the draft. In the third round, you mentioned Mark Andrews, Oklahoma tight end. He's a move guy. He's not an inline guy. He can certainly help out in the passing game. I guess you think about it, Hurst, Andrews, big targets, large catch radiuses. Maybe that mitigates some of the accuracy concerns you might have with Jackson. They get the big guy, the behemoth, Orlando Brown, your guy, Drew.
Oklahoma tackle. You have Ronnie Stanley on the left side, and I guess they signed James Hurst, so a 4-year deal on the right side, but he's played guard, so maybe they move him inside and put Orlando Brown. If anything, they got depth there. Either way, I like the pick. Orlando Brown's played with a quarterback who's moved around the pocket in the Baker Mayfield. I'm telling you, you're not going to see Flacco for too long this season, and because he's boring. Matter of fact, that's his new name. Mr. Boring. Let's get it going, because that offense was boring with him under center. And this guy is a behemoth, man. I call him, he got a little bit of a dancing bear. I don't really care for his combine. I just watch the tape. I look at the tape and I see a guy who puts his hands on players and puts them into the ground, man.
He was still your top tackle, even after the combine.
The thing about Orlando Brown, it's not pretty out there. No. He doesn't look, like technically and all that, but he gets the job done. Yeah. I've seen time after time where he just, you can't get around him. He's a behemoth out there. Yeah. And I think Orlando Brown was a steal in the third round. Also, I wasn't going next, but I think Orlando Brown was a steal in the third round.
Do you think the fact that he's not polished technically might be an issue for him at the pro level? Because he was so big, he was just a bigger athlete than everybody else. You know what I'm saying? It was boys against a man. You know what I'm saying? In the NFL, he's playing men. He's playing guys that are more crafty, whatever the case may be. Do you think there's going to be a learning curve, or do you think he's just a steal?
I think it's a steal, and I think it's a learning curve. Okay. I think it's going to take time, get into the, hold on, I'll fuck it up. Hold on, I think it's going to take time. I think he just got to get with the coaching staff and work on his technique. And before the combine, this guy was a first round pick. Yeah. The combine dropped him down to a third round pick, so that's why I think he was a steal in the third round.
What about day 3? What do you think about the Ravens draft class in day 3, real quick?
Well, they got Anthony Everett, Alabama corner. Y'all, if you don't know, I'm not a fan of any Alabama cornerback. I'm sorry. The front 7 is that defense. But they got the best corner, excluding Minkah Fitzpatrick and Ronnie Harris. I know people, those are safety corners, like whatever.
Drafted Marlon Humphrey last year. He actually played pretty well.
He did.
I was surprised. I was actually surprised. I thought he got beat far too often in college. He played well. The thing about Everett and Levi Wallace, for that matter, they're not Cyrus Jones. They're not D. Milner. I think those guys, they may not be stars, but they're better than those guys. I think that's the mindset we have. And to your point, it's difficult to get a read on this the third level of Alabama's defense because the front seven is so dominant. It's difficult, but I just think Saban has done a better job recruiting better talent. That's what I ultimately think.
Yeah, I think day 3 is when we was talking about earlier. They went and got those receivers, so we'll see which one of these guys stick. The big guy, Jaleel Scott from New Mexico State, or Jordan Lasley from UCLA. I think Lasley has some off the field issues, had some drop concerns, but I think this guy could be a steal for the Ravens also in day 3. That's it. All right, man. There you have it, man. That's the Ravens breakdown. Please subscribe. Please like. Please comment. Join the discussion, man. We'll get back at you. We'll reply back to your comments. And visit the website, complicatedwithgm.com.
Is in the building.